What's going on, guys? It is Laser here with another weekend video analysis. It is late at night on a Friday. I'm not going to have time tomorrow morning or afternoon to actually make this video, so I'm making it tonight. This is just so, and I normally don't like to make these videos late at night because it's the end of the day. I'm exhausted. So if you get anything from me, it's whatever I have left in the tank. I'm also fighting a cold and like some sort of sinus infection, so I'm a bit sick and life's been super busy. And if you missed my last week's video, I talked about how when life gets hard and challenging and busy, it's no excuse to stop doing what you love doing. You got to go out there and do that. If you can't do what you love in your life, what's the point in living? You got to go out there and just put an effort into doing things that you love. Don't stop doing it. When things get busy, make time. Make time to do the things you love, which is what I'm doing here today. Having said that, please, if you guys are making a big financial decision, please do your own due diligence, do your own research. This is just my opinion. It has been wrong in the past before. We do try our best to try and predict where the price is going, and we try and share where we might be seeing it going into next week. And we're going to do that by not only looking at NIO, we'll look at BABA, we'll look at the Hang Seng Index, we'll look at the Dixie, the US dollar, and we'll try and wrap up our thoughts and try and get it all out there. But yeah, that's it. I'm going to dive right into our analysis here. If you guys have any questions as I'm kind of dropping, and sharing my thoughts, don't forget to, leave a question in the comment section below. Now, if you've left any questions or comments in any of my previous videos, just remember I've been very, very busy. So I haven't had time to kind of even sit down and kind of look at those comments. Like I'm making this video late at night right before bed here, and I just don't have time. Life's been getting busy, but I'm making time for these videos. But I still see those questions. I want you guys to ask those questions, and I will get back around to it to answering them if I can. And again, thank you everybody who has been supporting me all throughout this and liking and subscribing to my video. You're much appreciated. Having said that, let's dive in. In today's video, I'm actually going to leverage and do most of my analysis leveraging the velocity. It's just going to make it easier to kind of understand everything and follow along. And to understand everything clearly, I'm just going to do a quick recap here so that we know what we're looking for. If you're not new, you would have heard me talk about the 200-day moving average, how that's very, very important to kind of get a gauge for where the move's going. You'll notice back in February of 13th, or like I guess the month of February, our velocity, the 200 moving average, made a lower low relative to the last low. And the end result was a very short-lived rally. Now, where are we today? And you can look to the left and you can see that kind of play out in the past before. A lower low, a short-lived rally. Now, where are we right now? Well, it was another lower low. And what we're looking for is we're looking for a higher low. Now, there's something very interesting that's happening with the stock right now. Our velocity has dipped down below, which is good, it's telling you that it's at a discount and it's below its 200-day moving average. It's kind of around the time that you want to kind of try and time and get NIO at a discount. And what I expect NIO to do, I expect it to form a higher low. And I'm expecting at some point when it gives you the reversal, you'll get the break just in the nick of time, and NIO's going to get its rally. It's going to get its big move. And what I believe, from a technical indicator, what we've all been waiting for this entire time was this higher low, which is forming right now. Super duper exciting. Now there's a chance it could fail. There's no guarantee that it will form that higher low. I mean, you could see something kind of nasty like this, where the price drops lower, and all of a sudden our velocity makes another lower low. And if it does do something, if it does make a lower low, there would be a bounce, but it would be a bounce to actually be very, very cautious with. But I don't think that's going to be the case here. I'm very hopeful. I'm very optimistic. Um, Everything's kind of lining up from a timing perspective. Actually, if you take a look here, we now have we're on like day 79 of the downtrend. Come Monday, it's going to be day 82, very, very close to that 90-day 3-month mark where most downtrends actually on NIO hit that reversal. And then you got earnings kind of coming up next week. So that's one thing that I'm looking at. Now, 2 hours, as you guys remember, we're going to look at the 2 hour time frame for NIO. I talked about this last week in my last week's video, how I said the bottom might not be in, which of course it wasn't. That was the right call. The bottom wasn't in, is we haven't gotten a breakout. Now, I'm going to go ahead this week and say the bottom might not be in because we haven't got that breakout. But I think we might have gotten the bottom. That's kind of like a very like big like drop, a big like kind of like, it wasn't a big drop, but it was a decent drop down. And that could potentially be our bottom. We won't know the bottom's in until we get that confirmation on the break on that velocity. And honestly, I was expecting that big jump up here, but it gave you a dip, which this might be the bottom, and you might get the pop up here from a velocity perspective, and things get rolling. Now, if you take a peek here, our velocity is forming a higher low. So it is signaling that sellers are showing some signs of exhaustion here. So it needs to curl up, but I'm going to zoom in so we can see nicely. It's potentially forming a higher low. Even though despite the price making lower lows, the velocity is making a higher low, which is always like a sign where sellers are kind of showing signs of exhaustion. If you go into the 1 hour time frame, now this might be kind of going too deep into the analysis, but I think it's important to kind of, look at shorter time frames if you're just trying to really nail down that reversal. It's given us that bullish divergence. You'll notice it's curled up already. This low right here versus that low, lower low on the price, but we got a higher low on the velocity. So that's beautiful. You love to see that on the hourly. Now there's another good thing that I like to see. We can end up drawing out this trend line. Notice this trend line on that hourly. We have a breakout here. I would call that your first breakout. And then you can draw out a second one. And you can say second breakout. Like it might be ready to go time. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, for those of you who've been watching my videos week over week over week over week, especially if you're kind of new, relatively newer, and you've been watching me here, I've been kind of generally right in this zone here. Very, very, very cautious. And even this rally that we had here, or this bounce, I was like, it doesn't make sense that it would be the rally because it doesn't make sense from a timing perspective, but we're getting there now from a timing perspective. And I like what I see with NIO. And if this 350 can hold here, we could likely see it start rising and giving us that run into like 392, 4, and a really, really big level that I want to see NIO trade above. It's 409. I want it above that 409 level. Once it gets above 409, then we can start aiming for 550. You get above 550, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I'm hopeful. For the first time, kind of looking at NIO, I'm hopeful. I like what I see. Now, if you notice the hourly, by the way, how it's kind of it dragged from 430 all the way down to 350. The 200-day moving average did make a lower low here, and it gave you a big pop, similar to how the 24-hour time frame made a lower and gave you a big pop. And it did it here too, but I think what it's doing now is it might be forming that higher low, which is going to be a really, really important signal. Now, the last time the hourly made a higher low was here. You can see it clear as day. That higher low is actually right around here. And you got that big bump, that big move. You can see the lower lows. What did that do on the velocity? So if we get that higher low, I think we're going to see that big move. It's time, I think, very, very, very soon for NIO. That pretty much wraps up kind of what I have to talk about, at least for this week on NIO. If I've missed something, it's because I'm tired. I'm sorry. It's not, I don't normally make videos this late at night, and I'm usually sleeping at this hour. So let's jump into BABA. BABA, okay. I was looking at this earlier, by the way. BABA, it's given us a breakout on the 200, not the 200. The velocity broke out, and it's given us a pullback. It's potentially forming a higher low. It's got that first trend line that it broke out of, and now it formed a second trend line here. It's trending just below that, and it's holding above this support. And I do believe that, you know, when it gets that crossover, you're going to start seeing potentially like that rally that could also happen on BABA. BABA's trading at a pretty decent discount as well, just like NIO. Very similar. Now, if BABA does run and goes crazy, that doesn't necessarily mean NIO will go crazy, just like it when BABA did. BABA did this, and NIO kind of just did this. Excuse me. I do like what I see here, because if I were to just erase all these drawings here, forming a higher low, I could see it. I could see a run coming here for BABA and the Chinese market, which brings me to the next thing I'm going to look at, which is the Hang Seng Index. So we look at this chart here. It's broken above the 200-day moving average. It's broken above, and it's given us like that decent pullback. I may have even talked about like that pullback. I'd have to go back and rewatch my video. I don't know, but I may have talked about there being like a dip and a retest here of this mid channel, and it rising back up into 24, potentially 25. So I do see a big move forming here. You can see here it's forming potentially a higher low on the 200-day moving average, which is super duper exciting. And I get it, minus 1.23 on Friday. Most of the market was red on Friday. Let's see what next week brings. I'm feeling very hopeful. Now, when we look at the Dixie, I do believe the Dixie is forming a base, and it will go higher. But I want to remind everybody that when it did actually make its rally, the stock market didn't tumble like immediately right after. So if you were to take a look from September 30th all the way to January, September 30th was right over here. It didn't tumble. The markets went higher on the S&P 500. And September 30th. Oh, look at that. It had a huge move. Did it move up in sync with it? Yeah, it went completely ballistic around that same time. The Chinese market went completely, absolutely parabolic ballistic. So it's interesting, and I'm wondering if we're going to see something very similar, where it's just everything just kind of just pushes higher. U.S. dollar goes up, stock market goes up, and eventually, you know, as things kind of reach a topping point, then we start seeing like that major correction kind of play out. That's it. That sums up my video. This is going to be a short one. If you guys enjoyed my video, don't forget to, you know, hit the thumbs up to show the support. And if you're not already subscribing, subscribe to my video. And if you have any questions because I didn't answer anything, or you maybe have a question because something didn't make sense, ask a question, leave it in the comment section below. I will do my best to try and get back to you. And again, guys, friendly reminder, if life does get busy, please get out there and do the things that you love doing. Don't stop doing them just because life gets busy. It's not an excuse to do that. If you can't enjoy doing the things you love in life, what's the point? So you got to go out there and you got to do it, just like I'm doing here today, making this video out here for you guys. I love doing these videos. I hope you guys appreciate them, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful night and also have a wonderful weekend. Cheers.